Right, so I am back, and having been away for a couple of weeks, it does feel somewhat like the desiccation of smog around here. Everything is very hot and very dry, and thankfully not on fire, and there is no actual dragon, hence desiccation rather than desolation. But anyway, quite a lot of the plants when I was going around today have suffered my absence. Most of them seem like they're going to pull through all right, and a few of them I'm hoping will pull through. Some have actually already perked up a little bit since I watered them, so that's good. But there were a few that are definitely not still with us, and so we're going to be replacing 2 of those today, and I'll go through another time and take off all the other ones that are definitely dead and take them off the list. But the first one is one that had really not thrived, and that is the Eugenia uniflora that I transplanted quite early on when it was still raining actually, and so that it really dried out and really failed to sort of settle in. Should have been a hint that this wasn't going to make it long term. And indeed, while I was away, it seems to have finally finished off, because when I gave it the little tug test today, it just plopped right out. And so when I was digging the hole to replace that little one, I did find there's quite a significant undermine in here, and I filled in quite a lot of that, but clearly not all of it, because it's still sucking up water and the soil like there's no tomorrow. This is a fairly shallow-rooted tree going in, so it shouldn't be too much of trouble having a bit of an undermine there, I hope. But we will be adding a little bit of extra soil left over from other plantings over the next couple of weeks, just to make sure that this does eventually have a full place. It seems to be an abandoned stinkant nest, so it shouldn't go on forever. But what we are going to be putting in here is a Madagascan palm tree by the name of Dypsis Carya, or the triangle palm, which is from the southern temperate rainforests of Madagascar. There is one only a few meters away on the other side, a little lychee tree here, which has done very, very well, even though these are quite thirsty when they first go in. So I think this is pretty good soil for them, and hopefully this should thrive here. Secondly, we're going to one that seems to have been dried out by the wind, which was actually a concern I had when I first put it in. This is Ileus guineensis, which is the oil palm, and this is one of 2 that I put in. The other one seems to have just been a little bit dried out by my absence, but it seems to be hanging on in there. This one, when I gave it a tug, it just plopped right out, and it had been looking a little dry for a while. And you can see from the way the Dracaena here looks much drier on one side than the other. It is actually starting to regenerate in the middle, so I'm not too worried about it. But the wind has really been drying this spot out, especially now the guavas have dropped a lot of their leaves, and it's also meant that this has become a little bit too vulnerable to some of the ants farming scale on it, so it's got a few little tunnels around its roots. I'm going to be popping this in a pot by itself afterwards and trying to sort of water it back to life, because I'm not convinced there's no life left in here, but it's very much not okay in the soil here. So we're going to be replacing this with something that should tolerate wind drying significantly better. This is Aloidendron barbarae, which is the eastern tree aloe. Generally speaking, I find aloes only really get ants farming scale on them when they're very stressed, usually by being too humid, so I'm not too concerned that the wind will lead to a sort of repeat of that situation. I'm going to be popping the also quite desiccated walking iris back in with this. I think with the ants tunneling around the roots of the palm tree, this has also suffered a little bit, but hopefully, having disrupted their sort of main host here, we should find that these can regenerate with a little bit of watering. And that should be everything for today, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you haven't enjoyed it, thank you for watching anyway. Please tune in again tomorrow. I will be planting something else, 2 something elses. I'm not sure what yet, but I have some suspects lined up, so we'll see.